Tauila Love and welcome to this week's program. We're coming to you from Western Samoa. In the next half hour, you'll see highlights of the 1995 Teuila Festival. The Teuila Festival, Western Samoa's display of dance, singing, Samoan culture and sports, including kirikiti and fautasi racing. The festival was opened by the Deputy Prime Minister of Western Samoa.
Le fio ngai le sui palemio New Zealand mari foi pula le palemene New Zealand. Fio ngai minsta kabineta mo tu flitua. Fa pe foi sui le fono ao foi tu la fono Samoa sifu. Lo e tai foi le paio ainga malato tama mo lato ainga. I le ala tae o tūla tō ainga whapea whanupolo tō whinga. Ia e te nane fōi le usonga tū mua mapule i tū au mala tōa ainga le tai ma le waa au whonti. Whapea fōi au auna le tua I whata whaita aulanga I whia. Lo no manu mo se manuia au iluma o le tātou o tū.
Most of the participants have come from Upolu and some from further afield like Savaii and even Aotearoa. Newton's PIC Church sent an Alfei Pese to boost the New Zealand representation. First day celebrations were closed by the Vine'ula cultural group from Apia. Since the festival began in 1992, how much has it grown?
I think it has grown rapidly in terms of the visitors' arrivals. This year, the hotels are practically full, and the objective for which the festival was established, I think it's met. Of course, the main objective is as a tourist promotion to ensure that we boost our earnings in that industry.
Most of the events were held in Apia, and the first of the competitions, a battle of the church choirs, was staged at the Faleo'o Mauso Hall right in town. 18 choirs represented villages from all over Western Samoa.
The choir festival was more or less a composition by Weta Solomona, and what he did try was blending of our own small equipment such as a corn shell and of course the lali and the pate, and fit it in with music. And it bound to be not an easy piece to play, because it was stated by Weta that the pitch of the song, the main keynote of the song, is from the conch shell. And knowing the fact that conch shell, it's not, just a one hole, and then you have to have the technique of blowing out the right note.
Each of the choirs had to sing two songs, the compulsory composition by Weta Solomona and another of their own choosing.
Choir, knowing that our people here, they always competition amongst various denominations, and they always like to, this is more or less a real village life, that they always adhere to choirs, and they love to render their service through the church, to become members of choirs. And that is very important part of village life.
Lift up your heads and sing, rejoice, 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 rejoice.
Once all the groups had sung, they formed an impromptu mass choir from three of the top choirs, which delighted the audience. The conductor, Weta Solomona. An added bonus to this year's Teuila Festival has been the presence of the Right Honourable Don McKinnon and his delegation from New Zealand. Today in Vailima they commemorate the Treaty of Friendship between the Western Samoa and New Zealand governments. In 1962, the Treaty of Friendship was signed here by the New Zealand High Commissioner, Mr. J.B. Wright, and by the First Prime Minister, Whia Mea Mataafa Faumoina.
Treaty of Friendship between the Government of Western Samoa and the Government of New Zealand. The Government of Western Samoa and the Government of New Zealand, affirming that their relations as governments of sovereign and equal states are founded upon respect for fundamental human rights and for the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, recognising that friendship, confidence and a mutual endeavour to obtain for their peoples fuller opportunities for social progress have established a specially intimate relationship between them.
I le aloa ia e whaapea o le anganga whaauo, talitonunga mau tutu, ma se taumawhainga whialoai, I lola ua wā, ina ia maua, mo la ua tangata, ni awa noa siri atu o na ato atoa, mo la sangau I luma tau le wā whialoai. Wa whaavaina ai se whaia ma whana, whaapitoa I lola ua wā.
In the ceremony in 1962, New Zealand Prime Minister Sir Keith Holyoake hailed the independent state of Western Samoa as a free, and I stress, equal member of the international community. And he spoke of New Zealand's relationship with Western Samoa in very similar terms when he said, "I assure you that although Western Samoa stands free and proud, you do not stand alone." Just last year, here in Apia, our current Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Jim Bolger, characterised that relationship in remarkably similar terms when he said, "Further challenges lie ahead. As you face these, be assured that New Zealand will always be at your side."
To be staged at the Faleo'o Mauso Hall was a display of two of Samoa's well-known dancers, the Ma'ulu'ulu and the Sa.
Well, these are the only very important dances of the country of Samoa. They call it the Sa and the Ma'ulu'ulu. During the olden days, when they are to prepare to go for war or fighting, they always have their own traditional Sa, meaning it's more or less like a warming up war dance and things of that sort. The Ma'ulu'ulu, it's a dance with action, song and action, and that Ma'ulu'ulu expresses their feeling of whether they were winning or whether they were losing, and that they used to come back and formulate, and then of course they dance their feeling, putting words, music, and of course actions. And that's why we come up with the word Ma'ulu'ulu.
Although the events of the Teuila Festival have been organised with the tourists in mind, support from the local people has been overwhelming.
One of my current jokes that I keep telling to our people when I speak on the successes of our tourism festivals, I keep telling them that one of the greatest joys I have is that for 4 years we have consistently seen a greater number of local tourists still outnumbering the foreign tourists. And you can see that for yourselves in the afternoons and at nights when we have presentations in front of the government building. These are continuously crowded with spectators. We also enjoy watching our own performances.
One popular tourist attraction was the demonstration of traditional Samoan cooking. For many Samoan families, the umu or earth oven is still the only way of cooking food. It's heavy work that is generally done by the men in the villages. The selection of food in the umu also reflects the village diet of the Samoan people. It is predominantly seafood and vegetables, all very lean and healthy. Keeping with the healthy theme, the Visitors Bureau encouraged people to work off their umu with this step class. But in Samoa, you have to do this kind of exercise in the early morning or later in the day when it's cooler. One thing that is uniquely Samoan and not often understood by the tourist is the humour of the Faleo'o or comedians. The subject matter can cover a wide range of topics, even biblical stories like this conversation between Eve and the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
Eva, ole pepelo. Ai, ole ake ke o mak. Yoi, makwa ke ke ai. Ai kang o ai, yola e di mapalang. Ai estaba le kwai, ole amole o vai. Ai, ele pukalo mga. Ai kang o fale sia ko mai mele ai. Si lang ala fan me ko lu ke desi. Ya se ya mainga. Voi kai mangaya. Ngata, fai makaya eh. Ngaka fai makaya. E wale anga makangi kan wayo ko.
Other Faleo'o poked fun at the communication barriers between local Samoans and the tourists.
Tourist, good morning.
Good morning.
My day, Valea. Oleva, what can if you good morning, Maya? My. Coming in. Ole, good evening, Mawala. Say the word, pe. Good.
Hi.
Away from my high. From my high. Ole, me ka ole high. Hi.
One of the most well-known Faleo'o, Petelo, won the crowd over with his story about Stephen King's mad dog, Cujo.
Akangila mai fa ka tua sola. Akangia mai fa ma sanga lunga lang kulo ko ya wale ko mai ko. Akangil mai fa ngale. Eu fa sanga lang pe eu foi ma. Apa pelo lo ma ko ai fo di ke mung. Ya ngawaya lo ke mung ila ko ke ko ke le la to tino ngala ko ye.
The festival is also an opportunity for Samoan designers to display their work. Many Samoan fashions are dictated by the climate, so it's not surprising that lava-lavas, pe'as and pulitasis are still very much in fashion. Natural fibres like sennet and coconut husk complement palangi fabric to create a new Pacific look.
In enhancing her family business.
Coconut shell jewellery sets off the formal pulitasi.
Josephine comes
From traditional to modern, the new look Samoan fashion includes hand-painted bodysuits.
She is the youngest of the models tonight. And she, I think, has started.
Also part of the new street look is the casual t-shirt worn with the traditional iawhaitanga. Siva Afi, or the fire dance, is the most dramatic and exciting spectacle. Traditionally it displayed the daring nature of young men, and it used to be called the nifo'oti or knife dance. Look closely and you will see that the knife is still there carrying the flames.
The nifo'oti dance is just an ordinary nifo'oti, and that was about all. But somewhere in a limelight of showtime, that this gentleman by the name of Ololi Tuli actually put two fires at both ends, and then he danced with it. And from there on, we realized that the tourists really interested in this fire dancing.
The crowd's favourite was the 6-year-old girl, who showed the boys just how it's done.
We have few really professional ones, but they're moving away from us. Some are entertaining in Hawaii, some are now entertaining in America, all over the world. And that is why the committee insists on putting up a fire dancing competition. And you've seen a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, 12-year-old. We seem to be having more knife dancers coming now. And perhaps within another 5 years' time from now, these youngsters will become real professional. And it is, of course, dancing, it's a trade. They can even go maybe to New Zealand, maybe to Hawaii, and all this, and it's good life for them.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, participants and spectators alike, for making the Teuila Tourism Festival a most enjoyable event. We hope that you, our visitors, have had a most memorable time and will in the immediate future return to visit us again, this same time next year. Next year will include many more exciting activities in September, beginning with the Teuila Tourism Festival presiding the 7th Pacific Arts Festival, which will showcase traditional entertainment and the cultures of 27 Pacific nations.
Cielo Avea is the world champion fire dancer, and with his skill and daring, he showed the tourists the art of siva afi. That's it from the 1995 Teuila Festival in Western Samoa. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to your company again next week. Tō whāsoi fua.
Faleo'o mapupumukoi na ai fodi ke mong. Ya ngawaya lo ke mong ila ko mo ke mong ele ngi la to tino ngau la ko ye. Ya ka sao. Ila malama ila to le ngana ya. A ura le mai nga so le wi nga so nga le runga ka pa. Ke mong ya la fa pe me ke mo el mo ga ga ku ki ro pa i ya fa pe mai
O le nei polo kalame sa whaatinoina le fisosoani alau pili mo whaasalaunga wha televise a wā au mai moanga i a New Zealand i lunga o le ea.